Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another fantastic episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host, and I thank you for taking a little bit of time to join me and my guests as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. I'm joined today by my friend Dale Wigmore. Dale, how are you doing there, sir?
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
So, people may wonder why I would choose this topic, and I'll tell you there's several reasons. One, Dale Wigmore Painting here in Foxborough. Very much a part of the local community. I grew up here, went to school here, has the business here, employ locals. But the piece that I took a shine to was getting ready for the Memorial Day ceremonies. I saw you out there getting ready the iron fence, the wrought iron fencing, and you and the boys were out there, right?
Yes,
So
my sons.
Who was the crew? What are their names?
It was my sons Riley and Tanner helped me paint the common fence.
And I will say, I think it was it Tanner that said he actually watches this show?
Riley.
So shout out to you, of course. But the important thing is that you're out there giving back to the community. And I think it goes understated in this town. We always say, we're built upon the backs of our volunteers, and the fabric of our community is our volunteerism and giving back. But, when you do see it in play and you see it actually happening unasked, you like to give a little recognition. So I'm going to give you recognition for that, even though you told me not to say it. But I'm going to say it anyway. So I want to build upon that because part of what we talked about that nice sunny day out on the common was the fact that there was rot and rust and the stone pillars, and you were sharing about what needed to be done to make them renewed again. And it just got me to thinking about, why do we paint our houses anyway? So as I like to do on this show, I thought we'd bring in a resident expert, and I can think of no one more resident or expert than Dale Wigmore. So how are we doing?
We're doing good. Thank you.
Let's start off. What is your experience, background, expertise? Tell me about Wigmore Painting.
We've been around 20 years. I worked for Fraser and Sons out of Foxborough. They're still in business. Jim Jr., we went to high school together, roommates after high school, and so I got my start there, and then I started my own company.
Okay.
And the Common was, I actually got engaged on the Common to my high school girlfriend. So
can we say her name?
Yeah, Connie. Her name was Connie. Her name was Connie Blagden.
All right, so we're allowed to say her name.
It was a big snowstorm. We've been married 20 years this February.
Okay.
So we got engaged 21 years ago, and I just felt that I used to coach a lot, and a lot of my friends are AJ Dooley does the cleanup. Everyone knows the cleanup he does. And
you do keep everything local.
Yeah, Jen Savickas, another friend of mine, does the Historical Society. Lisa Downs is the discretionary fund, which countless hours. I just felt that I wasn't doing my part anymore. I felt coaching. I did 20 seasons of soccer, spring, fall. There was a lot of work with that, and I just wanted to give back, and so I did it. It came up great, and it was actually fun to do. I enjoyed doing it.
Well, good. So now let's build upon that. So, and this is not a commercial. We don't do that, but I do want to give a shout out to it's wigmorepainting.com.
Yep.
And the telephone number is 508-543-1159.
Yes, sir.
And you can also be a friend on Facebook by going to Wig Paint or Wigmore Painting.
Yep, Wig Paint. I think it's Wig Paint.
Okay. So that said, curious about. Let's start off at the basics.
Sure.
We paint because why?
Well, one, aesthetically, you want your house to look pretty, as your neighbors' houses look pretty, and to protect the house itself, the wood. And I'm a big believer in preventative maintenance. As you had mentioned before, the Common had not been done, I think, for 20 years.
Well, I know that it was an Eagle Scout project had gone through, but we're talking a comprehensive look at the iron railing. So yes, absolutely. So with the preservation aspect of it, and this is where I'm driving at, folks, is the importance of keeping our homes in condition where a little bit of a problem now doesn't result in a huge issue down the road. And we all know town hall and the big debate over preventative maintenance when the fascia boards started to rot is because, in a lot of our opinions, some preventative maintenance hadn't been done. And of course, there's also roofing issues and everything else. Now you Is there a general statement that you should paint your house every X number of years?
No, it's. I'm glad you asked that question. Back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, a painting business could be a residual business, almost as like an insurance company's residual, meaning that you literally could paint a house every 3 to 5 years, and customers would be happy to pay you.
You just roll it over.
3 to 5. So if you have 30 customers, you have a nice income that just repeats itself. It staggers over the next 10 years. The products have gotten so much better that I would say 10 years, 8 to 10 years is the new, that's how long your house should last. And it's great for the homeowner, but the business owner, that residual income, I don't consider it a residual business opposed to, commercial accounts, having a couple of apartment complexes that we have that when someone moves out. But other than the homeowner, it is 8 to 10 years. I know a house I did 12 years ago. It looks like I did it yesterday.
Really?
On Chestnut Street. Dick Davis built it, and for some reason that it was 12 years ago. I might not paint that for 20 years.
It has a bubble of weather protection.
I don't know. When the sun hits it, whatever. But it looks great.
Well, my house
and that's the
doesn't have
product.
that. But so here's the question. You mentioned about the technology changing. So what are some of the improvements in the paint structure these days? Over, say, 15, 20 years ago.
It's everything's latex based now. They don't even really sell oil paints anymore. Really? Primers only. You cannot walk into any paint store and buy oil paint to paint your bedroom. Where before the 75 or 76, everything was oil.
And why is that?
Pretty much the VOC levels. They wanted to knock out all these fumes that were. The ozone layer, all those issues where they can cut it out, they've been cutting it out. So most all paints now are really very low odor or no odor at all. They do make a paint there absolutely isn't any odor, but when you open the can that has odor, you can't even really smell it on the interior side. So basically, all paints now are all latex based. They last longer. The exterior, they'll stretch and mold and stretch and mold. Where once oil's set, it pretty much set. So any kind of heat or cold or moisture would crack it after a few years. Where the latex, it's a latex base. It will bend and mold and heat and shrink and stay with the wood. So the products are just amazing now.
So, and again, I'm not going to get any brand names because that wouldn't be fair, but say I'm a homeowner on a budget, and I am a homeowner, and I do have a budget, so I am one of those. What if I needed to do a project? Is there a big difference these days between generic and brand name?
I absolutely believe so. I'm a Ben Moore fan. Can I say that? Yeah.
You just said it. So
yeah, I'm a big Ben Moore fan. I do get contacted. We spend a lot of money in paint per year, and been called from Sherwin-Williams and Home Depot sales reps, and I just never had a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with it when I worked for Jim Frazier at 16, 17 years old. I never remember being called back because the house peeled or flaked. It's kind of like the old saying, if it's not broken, why fix it?
So you actually have brand loyalty, and you believe strongly.
I have very much brand loyalty, and I had a bad experience where the customer had bought the paint early on, and I said, okay, I'll take whatever. She paid $150, took it off the price, and it literally was interior, took 3 or 4 coats where I know my product would have taken 1 or 2. And then from then on, I will not take a job if someone insists on another product, or I won't guarantee it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So again, talking with Dale Wigmore, owner of Wigmore Painting here in beautiful Foxborough, talking about the preservation aspect. We'll get to some other areas. So you said the latex are far superior today. They were 20 years ago, and the oils are kind of on the way out. I have a question I've always wanted to ask. I've never had an expert with me, so I want to ask you. What is the difference between lead paint and non-lead paint?
Lead paint is poisonous.
Well, yes.
That's the main. It was a very good product, very good paint. And I must say, if lead was in the paint, it's a metal. It would be superior than the products that are out there today. Okay. They do make a Benjamin. How do I say this? If you go into an older home, a Victorian home, and it's painted, it has like a gloss to it, but it's almost like a soft, faded gloss. It's really very elegant. That is the lead that's in the paint, and you can really tell
Interesting.
Even a homeowner, once you just get taught it for a minute, you'll be able to say, that's lead, that's not, that quickly. They have made a latex product that does mimic it, and it's very, very close, and it works really well. People want that lead look. When they started discontinuing the oil paints, people with these older homes, like Granite Street, they would go out and buy like a gallon of the oil paint. You can't, when I say you can't get it anymore. You cannot buy semi-gloss oil paint at Babel's, at Home Depot. They don't make it anymore.
So I've got a question then. So I own a Victorian home. My wife Kathy
Yes.
and I. And we took it over from my grandmother, so it stayed in the family. The question is the home lead testing kits, because I know as new parents, many of us are concerned, and we want to make sure that we're not exposing our children unnecessarily. Are they effective, or should an expert come in?
They are very effective. I've used them myself. Once you do locate lead, then you want to call a licensed lead remediator to come in.
But the home testing kits that you can pick
Absolutely.
up at the hardware store, they're valid tools.
They have
and they can
very,
be used.
very valid tools. They a millisecond, it will turn pink.
Okay.
And the reason for the lead is it's actually just, it's not harmful for adults. It's mostly the children 2 years old that will bite on
Ingest it. And,
ingest it as they're teething. It's windowsills mostly. That's where most of the problems come from. They'll be gnawing on a windowsill.
Sure.
And the old days you used to take. Actually, I did it with Fraser and Sons. 4 feet down on all the window trim had to come off or sanded off, and then all the door frames 4 feet down. And now it's going to be completely lead free.
Okay.
You're not allowed. You can encapsulate it.
Do we still have to put the tint over the house?
Oh yeah, it is a process. There's an encapsulating process where there's a product that it has to go on 3 millimeters thick. You have to measure it in certain instances. It's you're better off just replacing the woodwork than encapsulating. It's a cost
That's
more
good to
effective,
know.
and you get new wood and the new doors and that kind of thing.
So I guess the word to the wise, if you have an older home, you should still give it a check and make sure that you don't have a hidden danger lurking in your interior. So again, speaking with Dale Wigmore, and I want to talk a little bit more about outdoors stain for your decks, stain for your house, stain versus paint. What's the difference and why?
Well, stain like this table is stained, meaning that this table would never peel. That once the wood was bare wood and then you stained it, and the stain becomes part of the wood. It penetrates the wood. Paint sits on top. So paint will sit on top of this, meaning that you spill some coffee or whatever. This mostly pertains to outside, but it will peel off the wood. Where stain penetrates and becomes. If you stain a house on the wood shakes or shingles, it should never peel on you because it penetrates the wood. Where paint just sits on top. So eventually water, ice, something will get in there and start pulling it back.
Okay.
There's a product called acrylic latex stain now that it looks like paint. It's not called paint, but it feels the same texture and everything like that. And that's what we use on most all homes. We use the acrylic latex stain on the body and then paint on the trim.
So obviously, I shouldn't say obviously because I don't know. Once you paint, you can't go and stain on top. It's a one or the other type.
Well, actually, you can. The acrylic latex stain was made to go over paint.
Really?
So you can, yes. I've used it. I'll be using it at Bob's house.
Oh, there we go. So which is another reason why I thought it was interesting, because when you were telling me about some of the ideas you had for my house, which is in a historic district, it just got me to thinking that I really didn't know anything about what you're talking about, so I thought it might be interesting to share. So let's talk about the reasons why we need to do certain things. Is there anything in particular on an older house that needs to be paid attention to more so than on a newer construction?
Well, the older houses, the roof lines are usually, I live in a Cape, it's pretty much a simple, 30 pitch and that's it. And, as Bob's house or a lot of houses on Baker Street or Granite Street, there's a lot of certain roof lines, and you want to make sure that the gutter system is working properly and that water's not getting in. It starts at the top and then works. Water is the worst thing for a painter or a home. And it'll find its way, find its channel way. I think I did a ceiling for Bob where there was a water stain in the middle of the ceiling, yet it didn't come from any gutter. It came from the roof somewhere and it found its way. to the ceiling. So I would say that your gutter system is extremely important. Your roof line is extremely important, that there isn't any missing shingles or that sort of thing.
So that brings up a good point. If you have a ceiling stain, then there's usually an indicator of a deeper problem, not just needs to be repainted, because the stain normally wouldn't get there unless there was a water issue above.
Exactly, especially if the stain is in the middle of the ceiling. Usually you have a gutter issue or you have an ice dam. We're all from here, so we know what an ice dam is. An ice dam is the gutter frozen with ice, and then when it rains or it snows, the water starts creeping back up the shingles and then into the house. And then usually your water stains start at your wall and they work their way in. Mm-hmm. With Bob's house, the stain was in the middle of the room, meaning that it came down from the roof somewhere and then it followed the strapping, a light fixture, some 2x4s,
weird, yeah.
And then it ended up in the middle of the ceiling. But it did, and this was on the first floor. Mm-hmm. We repaired it. It came out great.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the, and again, speaking with Dale Wigmore, the Wigmore Painting, talking about that type of a thing, with painting, it's too easy to just paint over and hopefully it covers up and goes away, but frequently there's either rot or destruction that needs to be completely repaired. And knowing that in this world there are phenomenal people, and knowing in this world there are people that maybe aren't so phenomenal, is there an industry site that one could go to check out a painter, get references, that sort of thing? Or is it more of let the buyer beware and make sure that you do your due diligence?
I would, especially with the painting, if you're painting an entire exterior or interior, it is an expensive project. I would highly recommend getting 3 estimates and more importantly, making sure the painter is fully insured. It is a risky job, especially on some trickier houses such as Baker Street or Granite Street, where you need lifts and certain kind of things just to get to certain parts of the home. You don't want to open up your homeowner's insurance because a painter's not carrying workman's compensation. So that's real important. And Angie's List is a good thing. Just Google and names. It's unfortunate that people will more or less report bad things. Bad news travels a lot faster than good news. So yeah, I would Google, and I would just talk to people, even myself. All my friends are in the trades, but when I need someone that I don't have a friend in, I definitely talk to someone.
It's about networking and knowing who you trust.
What was he like? What was the crew like? How do they treat your kids or your animals? Were they, was he a good guy? Was he honest? Did he show up? Was there any problems? I would never hire anyone for anything over $1,000 without talking to someone that used that person before. I highly recommend that.
And I suppose it's a truism of life that if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly. Real quick, I had an instance where this happened last week. I was $1,000, which I didn't think. It was a $7,000 job, and I was $1,000 more, which I still felt that was in the ballpark. I have a good company. I carry all the insurances, and I just said, please check his insurance. If he's carrying liability, this is how much that costs. Workman's comp is located. So this painter had sent his certificate, and he had liability. So the homeowner looked at it. Oh, he's got insurance. No, he had liability insurance. The liability is if you break a window, spill paint on a rug. The workman's comp is it's like a one line located at the bottom. He didn't carry it. It's a $10,000 expense for me. So it's like $1,000 a month I have to spend. This guy didn't have it. And so that was the price difference, right? There's where while I was off,
Interesting.
And I ended up getting the job because he did not have the comp, and she didn't want to open herself up to that. It's just important to make sure they have insurance.
So an educated consumer is
absolutely
your
that
best
goes with
customer.
anyone. Yeah. A carpenter, anyone that's going to work in your house, you want to make sure they're fully insured.
So I'm going to cycle it all the way back to the common in a second here, but. Whenever I have people from the industry in, and I love having industry professionals such as Dana Stores with Stores Chimney.
Yeah, it's great.
Are there any current scams going on? Are there any current issues that homeowners, particularly the elderly, should be looking for? Or do you think everything is pretty peaceful in the town of Foxborough?
What I've as far as the painting industry, I've never heard of the scams that come in and they ask the elderly for money and they leave with the check. With painters, it's more to watch out for. It's just that they know what they're doing. Don't ever give more than 50% deposit, and never give it more than a week in advance. Even Bob, Bob, I'm going to be working for Bob. He's asked me 3 times, can I send you some money? And I'm like, no, don't send me any money. I don't, not until I start, that kind of thing. I mean, if any, and this goes to trades across the board, if anyone's looking for that money or a bigger deposit, be leery. Why do they need that money? What do they don't, first, the biggest expense is their payroll. And they're going to need that on that Friday of the job. So I don't know why they need $4,000 or $5,000 a month before.
Interesting.
There's no reason for it. The average house is about $700 in materials on average for painting. A bigger house, like $800 to $1,000. Never more than $1,000. A house in Foxborough, any house in Foxborough, I can't see being more than $1,000 in materials.
So again, I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to give you the last word here. Speaking with Dale Wigmore, of course, with Wigmore Painting here in Foxborough. You can reach out to him at wigmorepainting.com. You can call him up at 508-543-1159, or be his friend on Facebook at Wigpaint or Wigmore Painting. So finally, to wrap up, just a quick question. What do you think about where's painting going? What should the happy homeowner be excited about coming down the pike with technology?
Well, the problem we're having is there's not a lot of younger people getting into the business. I belong to a National Paintings Association, and that's one of the main problems. There's not a lot of people, and a lot of it's happening to trades across the board. You're not having a lot of kids take shop in school anymore. You're not, carpenters and painters, and other than that, the products are great. You get a lot of bang for your buck on the exterior. Interior, the products are better as far as coverage goes, but you never really have peeling issues or fading issues on the interior because they don't have the sun or the weather. Mm-hmm. So I haven't really seen it much. I mean, the products are better. I mean, coverage is better on the inside, but it hasn't been a wow factor. Exterior has been a wow factor, meaning that you're getting twice as long of life, to 3 times longer life than you did 20 years ago.
Mm. Excellent.
That's it.
Well, Dale, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me on. I've never done anything like this. It was great.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
This is part of your Experts in Foxborough series. I'm Bob Hickey, thanking you for taking the time to join me and my guest talking about paint technology, and where the industry is going. And of course, he volunteered by Painting the Common. If you want to volunteer, become a member of the Foxborough Cable Access family. We'd love to have you join us, as have Betty Towers and Deb Stores and Travers and Paul Beck behind the glass, who all make this possible by bringing the shows to you. If you want to join us, call us at 543-4758, and then you too can be part of the family here at Cable Access. We're here at 28 Central Street. Hopefully we'll see you here. On behalf of all these folks, I'm Bob Hickey. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.